Hi everyone, welcome to my very first video tutorial. On this tutorial today I will be talking about free motion quilting, doing a little demonstration for you, and showing you a little bit about what I do with my machine setup and the tools I use to help my machine work better for me and make my free motion quilting easier and look even better. So the first couple of things I want to show you are, number one, the foot that I use. It is specific to this type of machine or any machine that has an industrial shank like this here. There's a couple of machines like my Juki. This is a TL98Q. Any of the Jukis will use this specific foot, as well as a brother machine, and there's a baby lock as well. You can always email me or your questions or send comments on the blog, and I will find out if it can work for your machine. But the wonderful thing about this foot is that it doesn't bounce. I don't like bouncing feet. They're really not efficient for free motion quilting. So this one stays still, and it allows me to glide with my quilting much more easily, as you'll see in the demonstration. The second thing that I use is a Supreme slider, which is this thing here. And if I peel it back so you can see that it's actually not my table, there's this pink tacky back. It's like a silicone on the back, so it clings right to my table. The top of it is 100% Teflon. It's called a free motion slider or Supreme slider. This size is a queen. It is an 11.5 by 17. So you can see it's very wide, and it goes into the throat of my machine and it allows my quilt to glide over the surface. It reduces static buildup, and it also makes everything glide much more easily over the table. Number 3 is my Quilt Halos. And these Quilt Halos were invented by my mom, Sharon Schamber, and they are weighted rubberized rings. So you get grip and control when you are using the Quilt Halo. It allows for you to relax when you're quilting. Because they're weighted, they're each a half of a pound, and they're grippy. This thread is not slick, it's very grippy. So when I'm using it with my quilt, it holds onto the top of the fabric, holds onto the top of my quilt, and then I can glide it like a steering wheel. And the weight gives me control and support, so I don't have to wear quilting gloves. I don't have to use other free motion tools. It is my personal preference. I have tried other products out there, and this is the one that I like the best. And it works really well with your machine and with fabrics. It is a steel ring, not magnetized, so it's safe to use with any type of machine, whether you're using a computerized or a simple straight stitch machine like my little gal here. Number 4, needles. This is really important, something that doesn't always get told to quilters, especially new quilters, and it's extremely important, so please take note. I only use machine embroidery needles. The reason I only use machine embroidery needles is they are ballpoint. Most needles that people use are actually sharps, and sharps are not the most appropriate needle to use for free motion quilting or any quilting, because sharps are going to puncture through your quilt. They are going to cut fibers, potentially cut threads when you quilt back over your previous quilting. The machine embroideries are ballpoint, and they are safe. They're going to allow your quilt over time to last and stand the test of time, and you won't get broken threads and fibers later on after washings, and you wonder what in the world happened there. So the embroidery needles are very important. And the last thing I have is my thread, and this is my personal preference. I'm using YLI Iris, which is a machine embroidery thread, and it's a poly. Lots of people like different types of threads. I do like this thread a lot. It's a trilobal, so it's got a little sheen to it. It's strong. It works well with many different types of fabric, and it's a medium weight. This one is, just double checking so I don't tell you wrong, I believe it is a 50 weight, could be 60. but it is a wonderful thread, and you can find it in many different places. Hopefully I'll be carrying it soon at my store. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Please, if you have questions, send a comment on the blog or send me an email. I'm happy to help. That's what I love most to do, and let's get moving. So I'm going to load up my quilt. This is just a little sample I made in a class I taught a long time ago. This is a raw edge applique project I did, and it's called Peking Sunflower. I actually do have it available if you're ever interested in wanting to make one, but this little gal needs to be quilted. It's been a long time since I've made her. So when I'm quilting, this is a small piece, as you can kind of see. It's really important that you keep all of your quilt up off of your table. Any little bit of quilt hanging over the edge of your table is going to create pull and weight and drag and make it not as easy to quilt. You probably have already noticed that I have these threads all over my quilt, and that's my thread basting. I prefer thread basting over other basting techniques, and I will link to you another free video that my mom has available, and if you're interested in learning her thread basting technique. So for the free motion quilting, I'm going to lay my quilt halos right on top. As I mentioned before, the pretty sliders under there. My feed dogs are dropped, and I'm going to next pull up my thread, my bottom thread, to get started. Just a note, if you haven't already learned this, when you are basting your quilt, it does not matter what technique you're using, make sure that the outside of your quilt over here, your backing and your batting are a hand's width, so you can quilt right up to that edge of your quilt. So I'm going to get started over here in this corner. And the nice thing about thread basting is no pins to take out, so you just clip it, and it's really easy to remove. Even if you sew over it, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to lower my foot, bring up my thread, and make sure you pull that thread to the top. Pull up that bobbin thread. You don't want it getting tangled underneath your quilt and causing all sorts of thread problems underneath there. So I'm going to go ahead and lower this on down, keeping my threads up here because I'm going to tie these off later, and rest my hands on top of my quilt halo because it's like my steering wheel, and I'm going to get started here. I'm going to start with just a soft S because I'm going to work on some feathers here. And I do quilt rather slowly because I can be more accurate that way. And it allows me to regulate my own stitch because this machine does not have a stitch regulator. If you have one with a stitch regulator, then I think that that's fabulous, and the Quilt Halo will be even better for you with a stitch regulator. So here's some of my little feathers. Maybe I'll do a little curly Q in here for fun. And a little more feathers. I should probably bring this right up to the edge over here. Now when I'm doing feathers, I go, as you probably noticed, down then up. It's a little bit more efficient to go that way. It's a little bit easier. A lot of people I've seen go up then down. This way helps give a little bit of a better curve to my feathers than going the other direction. I can be a little bit more free-form with them, which I like the look of better. Now I've gotten to the end of my spine, as you can see right here, so I'm going to echo back around the outside of my feathers. Usually I kind of go the width of my foot edge here, but you can really gauge it yourself. Practice a little bit with it, with echoing. Okay, and now I'm back up to the top where I started, and get that thread out of the way, and then I'm going to come down and around again, making those teardrops, those feathers going down and around. Now that's a little bit of a lonely curly Q, so I should make a couple more. Now, you can probably see I'm getting pretty close to my quilt halo right here, so it's just easy to move. You just move it right out of the way. It's just a fabulous, easy tool to use in your quilting. Now, I've come to the tippy top of my feather there, as you can see. I like this little opening right here to come and do another spine, so I'm going to leave that open. And I'm just going to echo back again and get back up to that place where I started before. Okay. Now again, you can see I'm almost going to hit the back of my halo there, so I just move it right back. And the halo is also wonderful for any of your stipple work. Micro stippling or large stippling. The biggest concern I've heard from people, from other customers I've had, is the bumping into it. And that often comes from just going too fast. So you do need to slow down, and your quilting is always going to look better when you slow down. I always say slow and steady wins the race with quilting, although I know there's a lot of people out there that just like to quilt fast and get it done. But I think people like the results when they do take their time to slow down on their quilting. Now, what I wish I had thought just this one step ahead, I need to tie these off. Now, what I would do if I had a needle handy, and I don't, is I will tie a knot right here at the base of this thread, tie it off, thread my needle, and I will bury it in between the top of my quilt and the batting and kind of weave it on through, pull my thread and needle back up and kind of pull it so I hear that little pop of the needle come out. And then that will bury my thread. It'll be hidden, and then you don't have any back stitching or anything on your top and your back of your quilt. And you should do that with any time that you stop and start on your quilting. And I think I will do a little separate demo on that so you can see it very specifically on how that works. I hope you really liked the tutorial today. If you have questions again, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and stop here because I think I will do probably a part 2 and show you some stippling in some little areas and maybe get this finished up so you can see it all done. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I'm always here if you need anything about quilting or anything else that I might know about with sewing and free motion and applique and things. Thanks again, and have a great day and do lots of quilting soon. Thanks. Bye.